Bonjour everybody, my name is thetroublmaker. That's my French name. And this is the Wargame Cup 2012 tournament that once featured 1,400 players, now down to the final 128. And after round 4, we'll be down to the final 64. And we have two players, NATO versus NATO. Our first player is Gerth.Homud. His name will be Gerth from now on, referring to the size of a round figure. And he is NATO. And our second player is Droops, and he'll also be playing NATO. So, pretty exciting matchup going down. First off the bat, we can see that Gerth has 2 command armors, meaning that he'll be taking 2 bases. Actually, a third command armor going down. I don't know if that's me staying. Maybe he'll get rid of this original command armor. Most people do not keep the original command armors because the armor on them is so terrible. Kind of like bad licensing. And so as far as choices go, we see Droops actually go for 2 commands so far. And lots of anti-aircraft, some rise patterns in there. Looking back at Gerth, looks like he's going to have a lot of infantry. Going for these Martyr Roland 2 anti-aircraft, lots of anti-aircraft. Helicopter all-ending has unfortunately been very popular in the tournament for like these at least these last 2 rounds. Just because Lord Gamer actually showed us that it can be very potent against even the best of players. And lots of helicopters here for Droops as well, so he might be... nope, he actually has some anti-tank teams here, so he's not doing the famous infantry helicopter all-in. He's actually going to go for a little more balanced play. In fact, he's using these helicopters to maybe deny a location for Gerth.Homud. While Gerth.Homud has 4 motor carriers here, 3 big tanks, and he's going to go for this India location. And it appears he's also going to go for the Echo location. And he's going for the Juliet location. So he's playing very greedily. He's going for all the most powerful and potent locations on the map, all the while taking a reinforcement point with no defense at all. Very, very greedy play. Will Droops make him punished for this? Is that like a word, make him punish? Will he punish him? Thank you, Encyclopedia. And we have a Blackhawk here. Looks like he's going to land on this location. Not really sure what it's going to do. Maybe putting it into this building, and he's going to gain some knowledge from that. And knowledge, of course, is valuable. There are a lot of helicopters here, a lot of Blackhawks. And there's only a single Martyr Roland 2 here. So he can actually punish Gerth for his creed very easily. And you can see in the middle here, there's a nice amount of anti-aircraft units here. Lots of infantry, some Martyr VTSIs, lots of great units that can deal with pushes. And it doesn't look like this position right now. It's going to be pushable considering how... Droops has spread up his forces. And in fact, this India position is very vulnerable. The Echo position is especially vulnerable, but there's really nothing in position to strike it. And Delta Force here will cover it by taking and controlling this, well, it looks like it's a farming shack. Nope, there's some propane back here. It's a refinery. An evil refinery caused by that the NATO are taking from the NATO. Okay. For Droops, we're seeing he's going to take the Golf location, and he's also going to take the Foxtrot location. So as far as the points totals goes, we see that Droops will be getting 8 points, and from the very greedy Gerth.Homud, he'll be taking 4, 9, 12, a 4-point victory. And here we go, he's actually going to move in. He's got some helicopters moving in to snipe away the VABs. He can't get too close with them. He does have Blackhawks here, which are kind of scary. Might want to land them and move them in slowly. He's got some infantry actually going to move forward as well. And I don't know what he's doing with these. He spin them around. Might want to try another swing. Probably should deploy the Blackhawks. Get those Delta squads out. They're needed elsewhere. The Martyr Roland 2 is actually going to move south, which is good, and deal with these helicopters. All the while, some vefed have been deployed. And with their superior vision, they might be able to actually snipe at the chasseurs FAMAS. Still uncertain, but there's more infantry coming in as the chasseurs FAMAS comes to try and deal with this. And we can see, in fact, some rocket fires on this VAB. Droops is just picking apart at Gerth right now, not doing any serious damage, and the Mutt might actually get killed. Mutts, of course, are very cheap recons that have no ammunition, and that, in fact, puts Droops at a tie. And Cobras will continue to pick apart. He wants to clear out these chasseurs FAMAS. These are very, very key, and just slowly pick apart his enemies. So this is a stylistically popular choice, especially in these big maps. Helicopters are very mobile, and they're very good at picking at units. This forces your opponent to get a lot of anti-aircraft weapons, which will allow you to do a quick switch, especially on these high income maps into something tanks, something infantry, something that's not aircraft. And the opposite's also true. If you get a lot of infantry or a lot of tanks, you can just switch into helicopters and be very mobile. And you don't need a lot of helicopters to do this with. He's only doing this with one helicopter. He's burnt through all his ammunition. He's only got the minigun, so he's not really going to engage here because the minigun will put him into range of the Chasseurs-Famas, which he doesn't want. And Droops is not playing very all-in. He's playing very tactically. He has units spread in this jungle here, ready for pushing later. The 4 AML-60 mortar carriers are showering on this location, so this will not be a long push for Droops. Gerth.Homud, with a very superior income, will eventually play his hand. And all the while from Droops we're seeing some fairly standard play. He's just moving in a lot of infantry. Looks like some Weasel MK20s. He hasn't really deployed these Delta squads yet. That's something that should happen. And he's actually going to deploy them a little further back, actually. It's kind of weird. Keep an eye here. I don't know what's happening over here. I probably won't be paying too much attention to this. The mortar fire is pounding on middle. It's got a lot of infantry, so this can do a lot of damage. And in fact, Gerth takes a small lead from this. The command armor is getting showered, but thankfully it's not getting hurt. And here comes the big push. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa. Did I just miss all that, or did I just miss all that? So we have a single 4 Saracens with infantry, not rushing in with the best. If it deploys here, it can provide enough damage and enough distraction for the remainder of these forces to do stuff. The command armor has 1 hit point left on it. We're not going to miss that epic moment. And it's being chased down by, well, everything. The Chieftain MK5 is completely caught out of position. It can pick off units here, but it can't be put into a position to save it. Moving forward. The command armor will die. The Chieftain will do some damage, like I said, a little bit of damage. And in fact, we're not seeing this deployed in time. Could be a weakness of micro, and the VABs are actually going to pick apart these Blackhawks. This is another slight miss micro by Droops. The Blackhawks are no longer useful here, and he needs to put them into a new location. The reason why you get the Blackhawks is actually for mobility, so you can kind of just drop in place. And with this massive number of Weasel MK20s, he's just going to tear this apart, and he's completely punishing the absolute greed of Gerth.Homud to think that he could take not 1 but 2 high value locations. And in fact, this Goodell Ace Neb is going to run right into the Martyr, and it's going to be a big loss, huge loss. Droops is taking a pretty significant lead. He's running everything forward into the Chieftain MK20. The Chieftain MK20 needs to micro away from this. It's doing significant damage to these Weasel MK20s, but with this Saracen coming and dropping on top, it could be problematic. He's also going to drop and destroy another group of units, and the shot, there's just a few units left over. He's almost completely destroyed everything with 1 giant push. Will he drop this infantry on top of this tank in time? Let's see. The tank, of course, needs to target this infantry down. And just a little bit slow on the micro strategy. We see the desperate 4 AML-60s late, trying to shower this location with some artillery. But they're not really doing anything, unfortunately. And it looks like the Saracens will not get deployed. The Chieftain will live to fight another day. However, there's another group of units here that's going to continue rushing forward. And there's giant clusters of units on this flank here, just wiping out whatever's left over. This Delta Force will in fact take out the Chasseurs-Famas. I just spat on myself with excitement. And there's a group of Saracens here to come help clean up this group of Famas. There's some Fusiliers supporting. This is a total victory, a total surround victory for Droops. All the while, Droops will come in and could snatch an FOB. That would be huge considering he's running out of fuel on these attacks. Will he do it? The Droops cam, in fact, shows he has the FOB. He has swiped the FOB of his enemy. He can resupply these units, and he can continue for another big push. There are 8 artillery on the map for Gerth.Homud, who in his greed has selected to go for very expensive artillery units instead of going for attack units. All the while, nothing cleaned up here. There's 2 VABs with 4 Jupiters. I believe these are stolen. These were probably originally Droops vehicles. And the Chasseurs-Famas are going to try and retreat, but it looks like they won't be able to get away. The Fusiliers actually very low on morale and might get routed depending on how this goes. But it looks like the Chasseurs will in fact go down. And all the while, the VABs, with all their supply, are going to just completely kill this recon unit and just resupply and steal as much supply as possible. I don't see how Gerth can actually come back from this. This is a 400-point loss. Unfortunately, the reason why he can't come back is because he doesn't have a lot of vehicles on the map. He's going to throw out 3 chieftains and 8 tank destroyers, so that's a good start. And actually, we're seeing the minigun getting used on this Cobra, and it's trying so hard to get rid of this VAB. It doesn't look like it's going to be able to. In fact, he might be sacrificing this Cobra for the VAB. The VAB is actually just getting a lot of use. And whoa, he's going to actually resupply the Chasseurs Hamas with these MD Jupiters and save it. And here we go, another crazy push. Unfortunately, not really doing anything. It came at the exact same time that the Chanks and the tank destroyers came, and this once completely isolated position is now not as isolated as it once was. Speaking of which, we're going to see some Martyr Roland 2s, or Martyr Roland 1s, sorry, are going to in fact get clumped and killed by tank destroyers and tanks. And Droops is going to continue pushing forward with that. Artillery fire is still pounding on this location. Hasn't really done a ton of damage, except that there's a command armor gun. Where did it go? Is it dead? No, it's actually moving up to this middle location, and it's canceling out the middle. He is going to starve his opponent out of money. They are now on 3 points each, and you want to do something like this when you have a lot of units on the map, and you have a lead. So now he has cut the resources of his opponent, and he's made it so his opponent cannot come up with a big striking plan. All the while, we're going to see from Droops a plan to reinforce locations. This is such a smart tactical move. And he's actually going to regather all of his MD Jupiters as well. They're mostly dead, but he can still use them for... No, there's no... Wait, yes, he has an FOB. Of course he has an FOB. He has this FOB. Of course, there's nothing here defending it, so it will get taken back. Droops is just actually going to deploy lots of infantry. And whoa, we actually see artillery forcing the command armor out, and he takes his position back. We're going to see lots of infantry actually rushing forward for Gerth, and he might be able to get across the river here. There are some Fucilios and some Rapfamas here, but nothing scary. Artillery from Droops going to pound on this location here. Most people are fine. The toe should be worried. And a Fusilier squad catching giant Fusilier squads from Gerth.Homud. The Rise pattern could actually pick off most of this. Artillery crashing, Fusiliers killing, and yeah, the Rise pattern is actually going to pick off most of these Fusiliers as well as this recon unit. So another minor win here for... Whoa! Toe catching from the side. The Rise patterns are actually destroyed, and it turns into a giant win for Homud. However, with the artillery fire and with these Fusiliers going, there's still a giant lead here for Droops. And these Fusiliers don't look like they're going to leave. They're actually going to rush forward. That's madness. That is madness. Speaking of gunship helicopters, we have Gerth.Homud bringing his own group of gunship helicopters. He's actually going to snipe down as many of these vehicles as possible, wanting to desperately get this VABPC. And actually, we see Droops has actually moved to this 4-point position instead of moving back to the original. Oh, he has 3 command armors on the map. I see. He's going to bank on a macro game. Of course, he has to move this command armor. No, actually, no, he doesn't, because he's neutralizing the points of Juliet still. Interesting. And because he has this flank covered here, the enemy cannot really come around and take this. He would need gunship helicopters. Like, where'd they go? Where'd all the gunship helicopters go? He needs those gunship helicopters just to hit across the bank here. And of course, Droops not having enough anti-aircraft units could be very vulnerable. And here comes like lots of helicopters. This is what you do when you have lots of money and your opponent doesn't. You just throw it in their face and say like, no man, like I'll buy all sorts of stuff. And here's another major encounter. Infantry are going to get rushed in. Fusiliers are going down. They have no cover, and they're getting hit from too many angles. The Rapfamas corps are the big key unit here. These are your concussive unit, and they in fact kill off the Fusilier squad. Other Fusiliers are being pushed back. And now, Gerth.Homud is in a lot of trouble. He's going to continue with this artillery fire, though, just randomly hitting targets. And if he does hit a command armor with that, that would be huge. These gunships, of course, should not be sitting here because they can get hit by artillery. They're currently grounded, after all. It looks like we're going to see a lot of helicopter banking coming from from Droops, as he might go for a helicopter all in. If he can actually get this command armor, it's pretty much over. There's 2 more rocket launchers coming out for Gerth. He can't really support these. Oh, never mind. He's got his FOB back. He can support these. And he's got a lot of anti-aircraft units coming out. He's very aware of what's happening. And that's not what his problem is. It's not that he just doesn't know what's happening. He has a good idea of what's happening right now. He understands that the helicopter all-in is coming. What his problem is that since 5 point is neutralized, since he only has a 3-point base, there's not much he can actually do about it. And it's just going to be a very slow, brutal death. Most players, of course, opt to get more resources, but Droops in this case has opted to deny his opponent resources. And for now, it looks like he's going to use these helicopters defensively. If pushes are to come, these helicopters will wipe them out. There are 2 Martyr Roland 2s coming up with this push, which could be scary. And here we go, Martyr 1A2, transport vehicles coming along the side, going to position itself for this push. And this is a lot of the prepping for these pushes when you have low resources. You want to have units being useful, but you want to kind of stockpile them for this kind of push. And it's going to be pretty slow from here. Lots of supply vehicles actually for Droops. He's actually running, like, you can actually run into supply vehicles. It's kind of weird and scary. And oddly enough, a 4th command armor is going to go on the map very, very late in the game. And yeah, kind of scary. Some of these anti-tank guns, helicopters might actually go down from anti-aircraft. And it's artillery versus artillery for now. That Lynx course was a pretty huge deal because that Lynx was the only thing that could really wipe out this command armor in the middle. That's currently not being used by Droops. And it's a lot of artillery. And it's a style that a lot of good players use too, where they just rely a lot on artillery. But it's not one that I'm particularly favorable towards because I think it brings the game too close to chance. In fact, this push is already going to fail. The Martyr is actually going to come in from the back. The Panzergrenadiers have been deployed. Delta forces wiped out this Martyr 1, and the Panzergrenadiers are going to run right into artillery fire. No! Poor Panzergrenadiers. And of course, they're going to go deal with this Delta Force squad, which of course has the MK3 concussion grenades. And it's a little bit hard to deal with. And here comes a infantry fighting vehicle along the side to also clean this up. And this is a very small attack, and it's the last hurrah of Gerth.Homud. He didn't even have his vehicles. His other vehicles come with the push. He just wasn't so dedicated to that push. And now it all comes down to randomness. If these units can attack and hit any of these command armors, they're in good shape. If they cannot, they're in bad shape. In fact, at this point, it might even be possible for Droops to just run away with all his command vehicles and just not resupply anything. Speaking of helicopter just died instantly, that just happened. And actually, he's going to move some Rise Patents against some Martyr VTSIs. Not a particularly favorable position. This is the reason why tanks and tank destroyers are so good on this map. These big, giant open battles. One Rise Patent looks like it'll go down. It's panicked already. And a much, much larger group of heavy helicopters actually come in and try and snipe the command armor, targeting the VAB instead. The VAB is not getting pulled back, and there's really no point to. It can't run anywhere. The shrapnel is completely out of rockets right now, and actually he gets the command armor. All of the air defenses for Droops are completely out of position, and he's still going to win this. But it's something he should note for later. In these all-in scenarios, there is a weakness in his play. We saw MK20's going to come and clean up the rest of these heavy hog, as looks like the Rise Patents will retreat. Martyr BTSI scores too good against Rise Patents, against any tank period, and lots of tanks coming out for Gerth.Homud as well. We see 10 tanks. He's banked up that much money. M1 tank, sure. An M91, I've never even seen this one before. It must be something really cheap or something. Like, I don't get it. It's actually the opposite. It's a very expensive tank destroyer. So with 6 minutes left, the only way for Gerth.Homud to win this is actually destruction. Get all of the command vehicles, and he's going to do significant damage. The weasels are immediately split up by Droops, and retreating, running out of fuel. Not really going to do a lot of damage, but it does provide vision for this artillery to realize there's a lot of tanks coming. He's going to get, oh, some Abrams? That's a weird choice. I thought he would just get anti-tank teams. At this point in the game, like, when you're so far ahead, you can either just kill your enemy by just killing his command armors, or you can opt to get a lot of these anti-tank teams and anti-air teams and just turtle the hell up. And as you can see here, like, this is why you want to get the anti-air teams and anti-tank teams, just to deal with these gunships. There's so many of them. Rise Patton going to go down here maybe. He's going straight for the command armor, and oh, he almost got the command armor. 3 minutes left. By this point, Droops should be thinking like about running away his command armors and into just isolated areas that nobody would think about going to. That's what I would do. But Droops is continuing to get pretty significant leads here. He's about 22,000 points ahead, maybe 1,800. And Chief and MK20 are going to run to this anti-tank team. Of course, grenades are all going to get fired, and there's the big giant volleys of grenades. These anti-tank teams are actually not in a very good position. This is a good position for normal infantry. You want your anti-tank teams to be used just like tank destroyers. That is, big giant open fields, of which this is not. And this chieftain's actually surviving quite a bit. Doesn't actually have any veterans either, so that's kind of surviving. Just really bad units for this. And actually they've run out of rockets and grenades, and that's why they're doing so well. Here comes the reinforcing supply trucks here for Droops, and the Abrams are just an odd choice, a very, very odd choice. They're not particularly ever known for being heavy hitters. Just odd. Another chieftain MK22 going to come and join, and finally with the resupply, they're able to destroy off these tanks. Yeah. I think this game probably went to Droops a long time ago. And here comes the very last minute Cabana line of heavy hogs. Just coming in. They have to kill off 3 command armors. So we're just going to speed this up. And, you know, nothing's going to happen. Gazelle's coming in for Droops. And Droops is going for the exact same play, actually, going straight for the command armors. And of course, in all in, which one opponent has a lot of stuff and one opponent has nothing, the opponent with a lot of stuff probably wins. Well, 1,700 rated Droops continues on to round 5. Gerth.Homud has been defeated and will not be seen or spoken of ever again. After this point, this is the final point we speak about him, and after this, we don't speak about him ever again. Goodbye, Gerth.Homud. I broke my rule.